Radio Hereford FC, the only station with full match commentaries of the Bulls. Every game, every week.
Hello and welcome to We're Going Down the Pub with me, Frank Williams, and of course, for the third time pre-season...
Is it third time already?
Yes, yes, Mr. Simon Wright is here.
Greetings.
Yes, we've looked at the away fixtures, apart from the Lads Club one, which we might mention in a bit, but we haven't looked at the home fixtures that we've got coming up pre-season, and also... when we did our guide to the new arrivals, it was before the signing of Mr. Oliver Davies, so we'll have a look at him as
really
well.
good idea. Yep.
This is the third and final part of our pre-season guide before the fixtures come out.
Oh, yes.
Today is Sunday the 9th. Our first away game is at Friendlies on the 11th, then at Lads Club on the 12th, and on the 13th the fixtures come out, and then we'll start having a look at our first away ground guides for the season. They'll come, I'm sure they'll come thick and fast. We'll have 8 on the trot, probably. eight away games on the trot.
Not again.
That was with cup runs, though, and we already know that this year one of our cup runs is at least at home.
Isn't that joyful? Our home game against a club we don't really mind playing.
No, and they've got to come a very, very long way. Now, you spent last week in the Shire, and you were volunteer cutting down nettles yesterday at the club.
Yes.
We saw the photos of you cutting down nettles at Lads Club. Well, you could have cut down.
At this point, I'm putting my hands over my head.
Yes. Yeah, we're not sure that Will Cheshire is the best photoshopper we've ever seen. Cut a line and try and blend two different types of marram grass together doesn't really work, Will.
Well,
but I
it seemed to amuse a lot of people anyway,
didn't
it?
Yeah, well, it did amuse. It amused me. It was a very sort of man at C&A pose you were using there. I thought, the old Grattan's catalogue it could have come out of, but
wasn't a lot else you could do. It was a ground with no facilities whatsoever.
Well, apart from some rampant zebras. There were zebra crossings, and most of them on Grandstand Road, I think. Anyway, we'll start off by looking at the other new arrival. We looked at all 5 of the new arrivals, but we got one we missed out, and that is Oliver Davies. Tell us about Oliver.
Oliver, I think, he may well have signed in May along with the rest, apart from the small fact that he got married and then was on the honeymoon, so good for him, eh? Good for him.
Right.
Oliver is a aspiring accountant.
Right.
He's he's passed level 2 AAT, which is like a sort of entry level accountancy exam. So I assume that's going to be his chosen path. He's going to be a bean counter, if I'm allowed to use that expression without upsetting people. He's obviously from Merthyr.
Oh, yes, of course, accountant, because I believe the accountant director at Hereford FC is going to be retiring from his directorship this year for personal and family reasons, for no other reason than that. So he might come in handy. Well, he might get himself a directorship while he's at it. You never know.
That would be a concept, player director. We never had one of those before.
No. But what we've got... Well, we've got highly motivated teachers, coaches, an outdoor events manager, a plumbing and gas engineer, who hasn't been doing much over the summer, obviously. No,
just when we needed him to put a boiler and he wasn't around.
And now we've got an aspiring accountant.
Excellent. Yeah, I do wonder sometimes whether, chairmen ever talk to managers and say, never mind the playing style, can you get me a carpenter? Can you get me a plumber? Never mind where they can play, as long as they can do a bit of plumbing for us.
I've got a few tax problems, Gaff. Can you find me an accountant?
Yeah, well, that's good. It's good. And of course, he's come from Merthyr.
Well,
our latest recruit from Merthyr.
Are we becoming sort of the Westfields of Merthyr?
I think so.
Except I think we're creaming off rather than casting aside, aren't we?
As an aside, Merthyr supporters are getting rather concerned that they had such a good team last year and they've already lost at least 4 of them to other clubs. We've had 2. Barry Town's had 1. Now I understand Barry's gone full time, which may be why he's gone there. But the natives are getting a bit restless, which is probably nothing new in Merthyr, but there you go. No.
Right.
Our man in Merthyr is a Merthyr stroke Albion supporter.
Right.
And I asked him for his opinion, and he's given us a quote. Good on him. Oliver's a decent keeper, he said. No, in fact, more than that, he's probably the best keeper in the Southern League. And I'm liking this already, Few faults, maybe a bit hesitant to claim crosses and not great ball control with his feet, but that has improved greatly in the 22 games he played for Merthyr last season. Reflex is excellent, chirpy sort, good communicator. Spells at Swansea and Kilmarnock didn't work out for him, but the pro coaching he received as a kid stands him in really good stead. Apparently he's a serious sort off the pitch, though apparently...
Well, if you're an accountant, you are pretty serious.
Very serious, yeah. You can talk to other accountants, I believe, so. Natives are not happy losing him. He was a major player for the Martyrs last year, and I think, that's encouraging, really, from our perspective. He was a major player for a team who finished in the playoffs in Step 3. So it's good to know. Bit of history then. Oliver was with Swansea for half a decade. 2 years in the academy. That was under Tony Pennock, who people may remember.
Yeah.
He was Hereford days. Turned pro 2013. Played 22 games for the Swansea under 21 squad. But the nearest he ever got to a first team game was a solitary friendly in 2011. And he got on the bench in the Europa League when they played St Gallen, Swiss side.
Well, yeah, okay, well, that's the money aspect again. You see, they probably took him because he's an accountant. Yeah, perhaps Swansea have got all their money in Swiss banks.
But, I mean, it sounds modest, but the trouble is he's a goalkeeper, and people, clubs need one goalkeeper.
Absolutely.
It's so difficult. He had a 6-month loan to Kilmarnock in August 2015. That was his backup keeper. Now, a bit of a put-up job, really. Oliver spent 6 months sitting on the bench.
You don't go out on loan to sit on the bench, do you?
No, you don't. Particularly when Kilmarnock's second-choice keeper, who's actually a year older than Oliver, actually went out on loan himself and played for Stranraer all season and got, experience, first-team games. Right. Somehow he got a shoulder injury after 2 months.
Could that be something to do with another 3G pitch?
It could be.
But yeah, never know.
Killy's, I've actually seen a game at Killy a couple of years ago, and it seems quite a hard 3G pitch, if I can say that sort of thing. Probably one of the older generation.
Right.
So it's quite possible that's something to do with it. So Welshman went back to Swansea, played a few more games for the under-21 team, and then he went back again, back to the wild west coast. It's not a great place, Kilmarnock. It really isn't.
No, it's not. Yeah.
It really is sort of. Not somewhere you terribly want to live, but there you go. But he managed a couple of games this time. He played in the Betfred Cup, whatever that is. I think it's the League Cup in Scotland. Managed to play against Albion Rovers and Berwick Rangers, so not exactly the big games.
Is it sort of their equivalent to what used to be the Leyland Daft? I personally didn't hold any truck with that competition.
Righteous spirit, mate. So, unfortunately, for Oliver, August, September last year, it sort of went from having 2 clubs to having no clubs at all, because both Killy sent him back and Swansea released him, which must have been a bit of a poke in the eye. A few weeks later, he joined Merthyr, though I have read that he maintained his full-time focus by training with Newport.
Right.
I haven't seen that confirmed, but I suppose that would make sense. Merthyr, of course, already had a goalkeeper. They had Glyn Garner. Admittedly, he was 40 years old, but Glyn Garner had been around a bit. He got 250 league games, played a game for Wales, and he'd been around for a while, as I said. But very quickly, Davies did so well that Garner was sidelined and sent packing on loan. So we had 22 games for Merthyr, and as we know, Merthyr made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Interesting to see that Oliver made at least 2 penalty saves, maybe more, and that's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, that's the horse's claim to fame, that he's a seriously good penalty stopper, so Oliver can match that. He's left-footed, means anything to anybody, I don't know, but... and the junior martyrs, made him Player of the Year.
Right.
Based on only half a season, so he must have made quite an impact.
Yeah.
He does appear to work in property renovation. I mean, I assume he's got to pay the bills. Studying, being an accountant doesn't pay the bills, does it?
He could come in handy in the sort of volunteer stakes, doing the Meadow end, or if we ever get the Black Forest, then do a bit of renovation for us there. Yeah.
But it seems like, accounts, maths is his forte. He's got an A grade at A level maths, and I suppose that all adds to the intellectual ranks at Edgar Street. We are very, very bright lots. I mean, what I really say about Oliver Davies, he's just another frustrated footballer who has to chase to find regular football.
Yeah, a bit nomadic.
Exactly. Yeah. Working hard, saying and doing all the right things, just in the hope of getting a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Merthyr turned him, if you like. Merthyr made his name, and the easy option would be to stay there.
Well, yes, he got the number 1 position, so yeah.
And I believe he lives in Neath, so travelling's easy, and he could have stayed there.
But you see, it's a big attraction, isn't it?
Of course it is.
You see, what Merthyr can't give him is gates of 2,500, 3,000 to play in front of, and therefore, obviously, there are going to be more people looking, probably from the outside as well, scouts and whatever. And I mean, he's got a battle on his hands, because he's got a remove horse, but you never know how that shoulder injury is going to develop. I mean, at some point, horse is going to have that seen to, so you need a strong backup there for it.
Well, I suspect that Oliver Davies has not come here to sit on the bench.
No.
I mean, he said as much, didn't he, in the interview with Keith on Radio Hereford FC.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes.
Although we do have to say, however, that Horse spent most of last season on the bench and is quite happy to stay because he knows he has got coaching qualifications as well, and he'd be looking at his future long term, and he has got that shoulder injury that needs seeing to. So we'll see how that develops.
We will. Watch the friendlies with interest.
Yeah. Well, we'll have a little break in the sub.
Yeah.
We'll have a little break in the sub, and then we'll look at our 2 home fixtures.
Radio Hereford FC, the only station with full match commentaries of the Bulls. Every game, every week.
Okay, welcome back. We've enjoyed a little bit of our BFG. We'll enjoy a little bit more in a minute. We'll have a break after our next section as well. We're going to look at the Cardiff home friendly on July the 6th. Don't get carried away. It's not the first team.
No, bloody hell. Good job it's not the first team, really, to be honest.
I don't know, bring them on.
Well,
they've got a match the night before, though.
They have. They're playing at Shrewsbury.
So who are we playing?
We are going to be playing... Well,
they're playing where?
Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury?
Yeah.
Oh.
You could have stopped
They've
that
got a
route.
better game played against us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We are officially playing the Cardiff under-23 squad, but I'd imagine that's quite flexible. There's likely to be some academy players in that.
Yeah.
Cardiff have under-23, what's called a professional development squad. All of them, of course, are full-time professionals, and they are seriously fit. And that's going to be the difference in the end. They are so much fitter than our lads are going to be. Even our guys who've got a fitness-related day job, they're not going to last against Cardiff under-23. There's going to be a lot of substitutions. There'll have to be. And the difference in the technical skills, of course.
I'm going to totally disagree with you there.
You are, really?
I am. We've just done a talk about young Oliver Davies and whatever. He played at that level.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that he's going to be that much better than the players before? I don't think so. I mean, we've got a lot of our players have played academy football. Welcome. And they come and played for us, and they haven't necessarily been outright successes. I think it's got something to do with the way in which you play the game. But yeah, there will be differences. I mean, last year we saw Hull and whatever. What was scoring that? 3-2.
3-2. I don't think Hull were that bothered. Albion under 21s were bothered. Do you remember that?
I do indeed.
That was a 6-0. And also, AFC Wolfurians, they played the Dingles under 23 squad on Saturday.
Yeah.
And the under 23s walked all over them 7-0.
What, the Dingles walked all over them? Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
But you really think about it, though. I mean, these
academies from Championship and Premier clubs should beat.
Of course they should.
At their level. What I'm saying is, the players at their level, many of them have had experience playing at that level, and therefore the difference, the technical difference, doesn't have to be that great. It's probably be a fitness. There probably will be a fitness, and of course, we'll have a spattering of that sort of player. They should have 17 of them coming up. Yeah.
Exactly. And I do read that the under 23s train with the first team regularly. In fact, they no longer have a manager of their own. They come under the first team umbrella. So they're sort of first team fringe players, I suppose you might say.
Right.
But you think about it, really. These Cardiff players, they will have had a 12-year apprenticeship. Absolutely made him 12-year apprenticeship. They probably start at the age of 8. And when you sign for big clubs, things get pretty serious very, very quickly. 8-year-olds, I'm aware, get diet sheets. Yeah. They can no longer play school football. They get fitness schedules. And when they get a little older, a school is chosen for them. Much of their life is chosen for them. It's almost like robotics.
Don't you think school football used to be the making of you? I mean, the thing is, that's why I think that so many of these academy teams that you see, as you say, they don't play in front of anything.
Nice.
Well, they're very passing across. It's all about technical ability. It isn't about the essence of the game, the physicality of the game.
It isn't. It isn't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, academies, professional development leagues. I mean, I'm not sure our audience maybe are aware that these teams play their small number of games. Our audience, both of them, both the audience, our audience, They're aware that these teams, they play their matches behind closed doors, midweek afternoon, normally on a training pitch.
Oh, they're not a Didcot then?
No. Or maybe the main stadium, but it's still behind closed doors, Loads of video cameras, but no audience. All very nicey, perfect pitches, perfect dressing rooms, no Didcot type tackles, no words in ears, and basically brute strength doesn't feature, It's all really, really nice, very nice. And there are leagues, but I don't think anybody's too bothered about the leagues, really, other than, the players want to impress their management, and that's the important thing for them. I mean, unless a young player can get a loan to a proper club, if I could use that expression, they're in this cocoon.
Yeah, now you say that.
Yeah.
I remember, I watched the Under 20 World Cup that our lads won a few weeks ago, and we were absolutely excellent in that tournament, and I thought these are academy players, and they were playing real proper football, get stuck in. That's because even under 20, they've all been out on loan.
Yeah, that's the only way
they've all been out on loan and playing football in Championship clubs or League One clubs and whatever, and that's how which is why they were successful. Because I've seen the under 21s did reason, but in the past you've seen our under 21s and so on, and they're just playing. You'd call it police ball, wouldn't you? Sideways, frightened to do anything wrong. Frightened to do anything wrong, not taking any risks. In other words, not playing. Football's all about taking risks.
It is, isn't it? I mean, you remember if you get out the Oliver Davies interview with Keith on Radio Hereford, Oliver said there's only so much you can learn in the under 21s, and I'm sure he's absolutely right. I mean, the under 21s he remembers is now the under 23s. The age limit has been extended, so in theory, clubs have 22-year-olds on their books who've never played for the first team. It's easy street, and in the short term it sounds lovely, but sooner rather than later they're going to have a reality check come in.
As some of our players have.
Very much so.
Have come to us from that level.
Yeah, they have.
Aaron Birch, for example, he came straight from the academy.
He did.
And it was a steep learning curve, and he sort of thought, well, I want more of this, I'll move on. But it's it's a very steep learning curve.
It's just a different world, yeah.
So we can compete with brute strength.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we've, bigger muscles, to be brutally honest, and some cynical old pros tricks.
Yes.
And you can imagine the beast will be a culture shock to them. I mean, we know Hereford aren't a physical team yet, but I think we may have to become more of a physical team, because step 3, there are certain demands that we've not seen before, shall we say.
Yeah.
It's all about, sadly, a lot of physicality, big, strong defenders, and we're going to have to learn about that. But of course, it is a friendly, so we can't go knocking little darlings over, which maybe we'd like to.
But hang on, some of them are older than some of our players.
Yeah, it's true. It is. But you have to. Non-league sides who willfully batter professionals in friendlies will. They won't get future. Their future requests will be turned down. Just that
this happens this happens at a lower level. I remember Bees after our Hereford Senior Cup match at Pegasus last year, when Simo took quite a nasty knock towards the end, dead legged off. But he was worried. It was an important game coming up on the Saturday, and he said, "This is exactly the reason why we don't want to play, because they were out." He basically said they were out to batter us, and I noticed this year for the first time we're not playing them pre-season. For that reason, so they probably had their request turned down.
You're absolutely right, Frank. I mean, just up the road, we're 100 yards from Halesdoe in town. They played Albin every year, but one year their players were kicking Albin star men all over the pitch, and Albin said, "Well, sod you, never again," and they've never been since. So it is a limit on what we can do. But just to give you an example of how naive academy players can be. In this part of the world, Birmingham, the Black Country, there's a famous old competition called the Birmingham Senior Cup.
I tell you what, it still makes the back page of every newspaper. Whenever there's a Birmingham Senior Cup, I see it's going to be Rutchell Olympic versus Boldmere or whatever. Birmingham Senior Cup.
Okay.
And of course, you always see it as well. Halesdoe in town versus Aston Villa. What? Birmingham Senior Cup.
I declare an interest because I had to lay out the both volume 1 and 2 of the history of Birmingham Senior Cup for the author, but there you go. Huge trophy, the history goes back 100 years. Hereford used to enter it years ago. And the local league sides, the big local sides, are obliged to enter a team, so they put an academy team in, and those kids, they get battered every year. It's not pretty. They generally go out in round 1. They come up against men who are cynical.
It's usually people like, Nuneaton playing it, don't they? Leamington and so on. It's usually a club like that.
Leamington won it last year. They beat the Dingwalls in the final.
So the academy team did get through, mind you.
Yeah, I don't know how they got that far, but
the Dingwalls put 7 past AFC Wolf Friendlies last week, so they might even take their football seriously. Can you imagine that at the Molyneux?
No.
Do you take their football seriously? You don't take their football seriously.
I try not to.
Exactly.
I try not to.
So why should the players? Yes.
Well said, Frank.
Anyway, that's
so there you go. That's Cardiff.
That's Cardiff match. Yeah. We'll have another little sup. I might even buy you a pint.
Oh, what a great idea!
I know. Before we look at the Stourbridge game.
Or Stour, or
Radio Hereford FC, the only station with full match commentaries of the Bulls. Every game, every week.
Okay, well, thank you for getting the point for me, even though I paid for it. Excellent stuff. Now, Stourbridge at home, August the 5th. Now, tell you something about this game. At half-time in this game, there's going to be a draw.
It's
a raffle on Radio Hereford FC, for a Hust member and a Hust junior member to win a season ticket. An anonymous Hust member, anonymous that shall remain nameless, has donated that wonderful prize. You must enter that by being a Hust member. That's all you need to do. But you must be a Hust member by the last day of July. Okay?
That's a great prize, isn't it?
It is a great prize. And if you already have paid for a season ticket and you win that, the prize will simply reimburse you the cost of that.
Ooh,
which
it's
is
better and
excellent,
better.
yeah.
Unlike the same.
Yeah, I think it's just a bog standard season ticket, but you'll certainly get your bonus percentage back. But there will be one junior winner as well of a junior season ticket, so that's great. Anyway, Stourbridge home.
Ticket? Oh, I don't know. Maybe you're talking.
There's a thing. Well, no, they're not standard bogs anymore. They've all been refurbished.
They have, and I
Under
looked
the
into them on Saturday, so there you go. Well, let's not
That
go
sounds
there.
like the policeman's very deep hole, doesn't it, really? You've been looking into it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, okay. You call it a novelty game?
I do very much so. I can't remember playing Stour since the days of the Border Counties League back in the 70s, Frank. I don't know whether you can think of any other time.
Oh, no. I can't remember it then. I thought I was around then.
I mean,
It's strange because they're only 50 miles.
Exactly.
Well, they're not. They're 2.5 miles for us.
Well, they are. Just
Why
we
can't
could
it
always
be up
walk
here?
it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll tell you now, it can't be up here because
They share with the cricket club who basically owns the grounds.
yes, Stourbridge football with a very imposing pavilion.
It is.
It is. Yeah, I've got to get changed and dressed and putting pads on in that many times in the past. Normally the pads don't stay on very long when I batted at Amblecote, but
Something about the pitch.
no, it's very, very good. But the mighty have fallen there as well. They used to be Birmingham League Premier Division, but they're now about Division 4, and I think actually they may even now have dropped into the Worcester County League.
Really?
Yeah, the mighty have fallen there. Well, Old Hill were great as well, and they're Division 2 now. So, the mighty four. But that's cricket.
That's cricket,
And that's where Stourbridge come from. They can't play at home
No.
till middle of September almost.
So they have to play away, which is the right nuisance side of the season.
Yes, and of course steps 1 and 2 will already have started on the.
That's right.
So
playing Stourbridge probably is the best option available to us.
yes,
Just as a reminder for those who weren't following Stour, they reached the FA Cup round 3 last year, and they made the playoff final. They really were on it for much of the season, and they regularly reach the step 3 playoffs, but never quite make it. It's sort of a bit like FC United, really, never quite get over the line, which must be a sense of permanent frustration for them. Managers Gary Hackett, genuinely nice guy. He's ex-Albion and ex-Shrewsbury. I don't know which one you're going to take.
No. Well, Simon has put in his notes here. He's getting very good with these notes now.
Yeah.
They're becoming more like orchestrated scripts. He has put genuinely nice guy, ex-WBA and Shrewsbury. Pause here to Frank in order he can take the Michael. Start with he's not Michael, he's Gary. And how can you take the mick out of somebody who's ex-WBA and Shrewsbury? It doesn't take the Michael.
You can usually manage.
The bit I take exception to there is that you've linked West Bromwich Albion and Shrewsbury with genuinely nice guy. That's a bit I would take exception to.
Oh dear.
That I don't think you can say that. Well, you're a genuinely nice guy, and you're a WBA man. So
I'll try not to be, but
what a genuinely nice guy.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But, Gary's managed the club for 15 years.
Is it as long as that?
15 years, yeah.
Wow.
Okay. And it's a sort of strange one. In his days as professional, particularly with the Albion, he had permed hair. And one season, he had his hair permed. Sorry, he's had his perm sponsored in the club programme.
Can you have your hair? It's like Mariah Carey's legs or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you
I have to miss a certain fanzine with which I have to declare an interest.
Oh, God, here we go.
Wrote to the club and said, we'll give you money if we can sponsor Gary Hackett's perm. And they were so desperate, they said yes. So half a season, every programme, Gary Hackett's perm, Grauty Dick fanzine, sponsored. So there you go.
I have no answer to that.
No.
I'm thinking of one. I'll come up with it later on, I'm sure.
So there you go. The things you do, eh? Now, Stourbridge, they averaged 800 supporters last season.
And that is big for Northern.
Step 3.
Step 3. Yeah.
Any Step 3 league, that is big.
Yeah.
I think only Dulwich Hamlet. Dulwich Hamlet are at 1,200 they get.
Yeah.
Stourbridge second biggest. We're going to blow them away, aren't we?
We're going
to blow Step 3 average gates out the window. Yeah. Stour, they have a noisy hard court of supporters.
Do. And we witnessed it because we went there to see the Halezone game. It was an Easter Monday.
Yeah, home and away, I think.
Home and away.
Yeah.
And they are a noisy bunch, but they are very, very good. The banter is excellent.
Yeah. However, I must admit, my admiration for them does dim somewhat when they're singing songs after midnight at the bus stop directly outside my house.
Yeah, we have to go back here to when they played, when Halezone played. We went to that as well, didn't we? We did. We sat down at that. Yeah, at the Alton. And afterwards we went for a drink at your local, which is opposite your house. We've broadcast from there before, only 100 yards away from where we're sitting now. And then I went home, and you went back across the road, which is by the bus stop.
I was trying to sleep, man. Midnight, and they were still giving it big licks, you know. So, interestingly, Stourbridge really is sort of refuge for disillusioned
big
club
we did
supporters.
Notice when we went there and stood on the terraces. There's a lot of Albion people go there.
Not just
quite
Albion,
a few Wolves and Walsall as well.
Walsall and Villa.
Go there because they are probably the biggest. Well, they're certainly the biggest step three.
Biggest non-league club in the area, really, in the Black Country, certainly. And they do deliberately target that by playing their midweek games on a Monday night, so it doesn't clash with anything. Now, interestingly, most of
apart from the fact they all been getting the odd Monday night game.
Well, they do.
That's probably deliberate, you know. The FA, the Premier League is thinking, well, we'll put Albion at home on a Monday night to stop Stourbridge getting the gate. That's it. You just see it, can you?
It's just to help people who can't sleep. And putting Albion on a Monday night, but there you go. Now, interestingly, I mean, most of the supporters there, the exiles, if you like, they're mature, but not all of them. There's some younger people who are disillusioned as well, which is an interesting one. But we did say that they got to the third round of the FA Cup and they got to the playoff final, which is success, but it's not successful enough, unfortunately, because they're still in step 3. The FA Cup run saw their best defender move to Birmingham City. And missing out on promotion meant that all 3 of their quality forwards have gone. 2 of them jumped ship to Solihull, who are obviously the local Step 1 side. Ben Bow, he got 40 goals last season, he's gone, and he will be missed, and so will his mother, curiously enough.
She's quite a lady.
Yeah, his mother is an extremely loud lady of Caribbean origin, who sits in the front row and has a very infectious laugh.
Now, of course, our new signing, Kean Raffel, will have played with against a lot of these lads. And he was on loan at Halezone, so he will know someone.
He will.
I would think. But I have to tell you, there is another ship jumper. That I've told you about tonight. The great Tommy Tonks.
Oh my word!
And he was. I think you said to me when we did our last broadcast that he's been there forever and he'll be there forever. But he's gone to Solihull.
Yeah, he's gone as well.
I think, you see, Solihull in the National League just about stayed up.
On the last day.
Probably 2 or 3 of their better players have been cherry-picked from clubs higher up. So they're now having to look around the local area and cherry-pick again. And that's probably why they've gone.
They've been picking off Leamington players and Stourbridge players, it seems. But Tommy Tonks, he's their captain. He was their leader. He was an inspirational leader, and he got a throw, which which is like a nuclear weapon, So they are going to miss it, and I think we've got a really good chance of turning Stourbridge over with all these players gone. But there you go. A couple of Hereford connections, fairly tenuous ones, admittedly. If you remember Dan Preston. He played central defence for Stour last season.
We saw him, but he's gone.
He's gone. He's gone to Hensford, I believe. If you remember Brian Smichael?
Yeah, we saw him, but he was playing fullback when we saw him.
Yes,
He played fullback for them last year, but he's gone.
He's gone to Rushall. And in goal they have Matthew Gould.
Yes.
Now, son of Jonathan, remember, and grandson of Bobby. Now, when you can say, I remember your granddad playing, you really know old fart status is approaching.
Absolutely.
But I think it's going to be a really interesting day. I think the Stourbridge contingent, they tell me they're coming by train.
An easy train journey.
An easy train journey, exactly.
You could even catch a Dodger from Stourbridge Town up to Stourbridge Junction and then catch a train straight through. I've caught it many times. I've gone down gone down from Cradley, caught the same train many times. I've done it couple of times last season. When I met up with Keith to do some work at the ground.
So sounds good. It's an easy one.
Keith has used it to come up here.
Oh my
It's
word!
really a day return at the weekend. He came up with about £7, ridiculous.
That's not bad,
ridiculous price. So they are a great bunch.
They are.
They are a great bunch. We look forward to that.
Bring it on.
That'll
August
be
the
the
5th.
last home friendly
Oh,
before
my
the
word.
season
Yeah,
starts.
and then it gets really serious.
It does indeed, and we'll catch up with you again as soon as we've got the fixtures out. We'll probably do a special on the fixtures to pick out some highlights.
Yeah.
We'll certainly
And lowlights.
have a look. Some of the ground guides are already in preparation for away games, and if the early ones are done, we'll get them up as quick as we possibly can.
Well, I've already been to 3 grounds in anticipation.
Yeah, and let's hope that we can have a nice away trip to the seaside early season. Well, not too early, not during the school holidays.
No,
Mid-September to Weymouth
kids,
would be lovely.
That would do.
It would.
Yeah, it would do nicely.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you during the season. Bye now.
This is Radio Hereford FC, the home of the Bulls. Match Day Live.